Hey YouTube, I am Fasha. Welcome back to Chessie System Locomotive Project Part 3. If you watch Part 2, you'll know that we left off right after primering these three locomotives, and well, that's where we're going to pick up in this video. As you can see, we've got the three SDs here primed up in white, flat white, which is a primer color I like to use. And as you're going to see in the next picture here, ta-da! Boom! We've already painted them yellow. As mentioned in the previous video, we decided to go with signal yellow since we could not locate Chessie yellow or CNO enhanced yellow anymore. And looking at these right here, I was really starting to get a concern because they are yellow. I mean, really yellow. So I said, we're just gonna go ahead and put a color on it and see what happens. So as you can see from the pictures, the paint took really well. I was really satisfied with the priming job. And just remember this tip of the day: 90% of a good paint job is prep. So now what we're going to do is we're going to move on in to taping off the bottom half of the locomotive for the vermilion stripe that runs right along the outside edge of the catwalks. We're using masking tape here, Tamiya or Tamaya, depending on how you want to pronounce it, and we're just getting into every little nook and cranny, using my pick, using a Q-tip, whatever we need to get the tape into the area so it won't bleed. What we're trying to do basically is just to tape off the edge of this guy so that we don't get any of this vermilion on any other areas of the locomotive. As you can see, to save some tape, I decided to go ahead and just cut a sheet of paper to use across the top half of the locomotive to get it masked up where it needed to be at. And basically from there, just taping it down, going around the front. As you can see near my thumb there, we got the a little bit more tape to put on that one spot. Coming around the other side, again, masking off the front of the anti-climber and the coupler box, and then just tying in the paper with the front of the locomotive. So as you can see here, what we've done is we've basically got that one side taped up and it's ready to go. So all we're going to do now is wrap up the other side with another piece of paper and tie both of them in together, and then just go around checking corners and stuff like that. I mean, the key to all this, and the thing that I want you to understand, and I can't say this enough, I just gave you the hint a while ago, was 90% of a good paint job is prep. Take your time. Don't rush through this stuff. You can see the little openings under the edge of the tape there. I used a Q-tip just to push those down and make them tight. Take your time with it. Look at them. Don't get in a hurry. Don't rush this. Don't rush any project. You're working on your own time. So now we got the vermilion on the edge, and we're pretty happy with that and how it's gonna turn out. As you can see, I didn't worry about taping up the catwalks that much because the top of the catwalks are eventually going to be CNO enhanced blue. So here we are after painting these guys. They look pretty good, and we're going to set them over here, let them dry. And as you can see, after unwrapping the first one, we had a little bit of paint bleed there, but that's okay. I'm not real worried about that. That's correctable. Anytime you go at a project, you're going to have some leakage, and by leakage what I mean is where the tape gets up or the paint gets up under tape where you didn't want it to go, but it's easily corrected. All you have to do is retape off over that area and shoot it again. There's a little spot that I outlined in the framer in the middle of the video here, and subsequently down the road you'll see that it disappeared. Matter of fact, I think I'd already corrected it there in that picture. So again, you can see a little bit of the fade on there because I didn't even cover up the top of the catwalks because I knew the blue would get that. And there's your first or second picture of the tape ball, and you will see as these videos continue how much this tape ball grows. Okay, so we're satisfied with that. Now what we want to do is put the vermilion across the top of the locomotive. The cotton balls there I use them and I stuff them up into the cab of the locomotive and the trailing end of the locomotive where the glass usually goes, to keep spray paint from flying into those areas and out the other side of the locomotive and landing on the locomotive. Neat little trip. You can use that as another tip of the day. It's cheap, it's inexpensive, and it works. So this is what it looks like prior or after you get it stuffed up into the cab. Don't worry about any fuzz that may come off of the cotton balls and adhere to the inside of the window frames there, because again, that's easily removed. Okay, so we got this guy taped up. We're ready to tape the top half complete vermilion. I decided to do it all in vermilion and then lay the enhanced blue over the vermilion instead of trying to tape off minute areas and keep straight lines. So we got it taped up pretty good. We've used our Q-tip to go around the upper edge of this and press it in real hard. And you know, when you're working on this area of the locomotives, you're going to have panel doors, you're going to have hinges, access hatches, whatever. You really want to take your time and make sure that the tape goes into all these little cracks. It will prevent you from having leakage later down the road. Let's see what we got coming up on this picture here. Yep, now that little corner there behind the cab window, oh my God, that was awful to get in there, but we got it done and it worked out great. So there, my God, that's vermilion, is it not? Okay, so as you can see, we've got two contrasting colors here, and if you viewed them separately, you'd be like, oh my God, this is bright. I can't believe how this thing's going to turn out. But the paint job it stuck, it looked really good. We was really happy with it. So we let that sit up overnight to dry. And like I said, let it sit up overnight, and boom, there you go. So real happy with this paint job. It turned out really good. Our lines are really straight. Yes, we have some little seepage there around the old molded headlight on the front of the low hood, and you can see it on the back of the shell again. But again, don't worry about that. If you're working on 1, 2, or 3 locomotives, get your paint job completely done to the point where you would be ready to put the decals on, and then go back and mask off the areas that all require yellow paint to be reapplied, and do all the yellow on all the locomotives at one time. Let them dry, come back, take care of your vermilion, let that dry, come back, take care of your enhanced blue, whatever colors you're using. Like I said, just don't get all tore up about this. And as you can see here, we've got all 3 of the locomotives unwrapped here in this next picture. They're looking pretty good. We're happy with it. I'm just going to let you look at these the pictures here while I give you a hint. Another tip of the day, if you will. Don't yank your paint off. You took your time putting the tape on. Don't just grab it at one end and rip it down. The reason is sometimes it might pull the paint off, and if it starts to pull the paint off, you want to see that and prepare for that. So just take your time putting it on and taking it off. And as you can see, the tape ball is going to have another addition. Oh my gosh, all this tape. Alright, anyway, so now we decided to go ahead and tape off to do the CNO enhanced blue across the top of the locomotive. Again, going into every little nook and cranny, using small pieces where you can to get around corners. This hump here really gave me a hard time. It aggravated me to death, because when the tape came in one section and tried to go across, it wanted to bow up, and I didn't like that. So I just used small pieces. As you can see here, to keep the lines nice and straight, I cut a section of the 1/4-inch tape out and used it to bring my line straight across, and then built on that to add tape on the engineer side. And then we ran our main line all the way down this locomotive side of the locomotive, and then tied it in at the rear. So we decided to come back and start working on adding additional paint now that we've got our main line defined. So just choose your place to get started, and then just start adding tape, reinforcement tape. As you can see there on the tail end of this locomotive, that little knuckle sticking out there, I ended up having to put additional tape on that. Back to the corner here, small pieces just to tie it in, make it tight so you don't have any leakage. And then we went with the 1/2 inch wide tape and just started going down the side, placing the tape here, overlapping it, getting everything in nice and tight. I cannot stress that enough. I use a Q-tip and a pick. I use the pick to push the tape down into the cracks and corners, and then I use a Q-tip to rub along the edge of it to make sure that it's pushed down nice and tight over all high spots and low spots. And right before I get ready to paint the locomotive, I'll go back over those edges as well. Sometimes I'll tape one up on one night and not paint it till the next afternoon. Well, you know, tape is adhesive and it will loosen, so right before I paint anything, especially where we need the masking tape on there to adhere real tight, I'll take that Q-tip and just rub it backwards and forth over the edge of the tape. So as you can see here, we're moving down the side of the cab. We're getting into those corners. Again, small pieces. You don't have to go real big. Just work it in there. Keep adding a piece here, adding a piece there, taking your time until you can get it where you want it. You know, the key here is not to have any gaps, not to have any area where overspray might go down onto another color or seep onto the color. So we're working over the nose here, the low nose. We're coming down the side, we're tying that in. We're going to be painting the entire top half of this locomotive C&O blue, and again, just continue adding paint. That's all I can tell you. Tie it in, take your time, push it in the corners, look at it, roll it over in your hands a couple of times, give it a good eagle eye just to make sure that you're getting every part of it you can. So now we're working our way back over the nose, and I guess probably the most important thing I can tell you about masking up a locomotive is to find that line where the two colors are going to meet and make sure that you have that tape across there first, and then either build up or tape up or tape down from that. Talking a lot here. Alright, so as you can see, we've got this old boy, we got her tied in pretty good. And keep in mind, we're having to do this 3 times with 3 different locomotives. So you see that little gap there in front of the conductor's window? Yeah, you want to tape that up, not let any paint get down in that. So this is what she looks like. We've got her taped up pretty good so far. We still have some exposed areas. You look at the rear of the locomotive there on the left, you'll see how we're covering that up with small pieces of tape. When you can, if you're using the wide tape, use it in long strips. The less cracks, the less pieces of tape that you use, the better it's going to be sealed. And I mean, don't be afraid to wrap this thing up like a mummy. Just remember that when you get ready to take the tape off, the first piece of tape on is usually the last piece of tape off, and the last piece of tape on is usually the first piece of tape off. So you tape it up and then you untape it in reverse order. That way you're not putting any undue stress on anything. So we got the one taped up. We need to get all 3 of them taped up, and it probably took me an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours to do each one of these locomotives. At this point, since we're going to be using C&O Enhanced Blue for the first time, you'll remember the snow plows. We talked about those in video 1 and 2. We got them primed, so we're going to go ahead and shoot them with blue. And here we are on the trusty lamp stand, and we've got her set up, and we got our blue on the first locomotive, and it looks pretty good. It looks like it dried really well. I was pretty happy with this acrylic. This was the first time that I was using acrylic paint, and the blend, that's what I'm looking here for. The thinner I used worked really well. The paint did not run. I had the pressure set right on the tank real good. So let's unwrap them and see what they look like. Bam! What do you think about that, YouTube? Looks pretty awesome, doesn't it? I was really surprised that it came out. And as you can see, the yellow isn't so yellow anymore, is it? And the vermilion isn't so dark anymore, is it? So You know, we're just looking around the back ends of them here and letting you get a pick. Had a little blue fade right there, but that's okay. Remember what I said, we'll come back and collect that. We'll get that taken care of. So at this point, we have our vermilion on, we have our CNO blue on, and we just have a couple more areas that we need to tape off, and we're going to cover that in the next video or the next two videos. So stick around. There'll be a link popping up here if you found this video and you want to go back and look at the other one. So take care and stick around.